Hello and welcome to Mind Shifters Radio. I'm Tim Hayes. I'm your host for the first hour. And today is Monday, October 20th, 2025. As always, we're grateful to everyone who's joining us here today, whether you're listening live or through the archives, as we spend another couple of hours teaching and supporting people in using some of the most powerful, effective, efficient, and accessible tools I've ever encountered. These tools are available absolutely free through the tireless efforts of Dr. Michael and Jeanie Ryce on the website at whyagain.org. If you go to that website and click on the two words that say Start Here in the upper left-hand corner, it will take you to a page where you can download and read Chapter 24 of Dr. Michael Ryce's book. His book is titled, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? That chapter of the book contains a narrative description and explanation of the primary tool in this work. That tool is called the Reality Management Worksheet, sometimes called the Reality Management Wake-Up Sheet, and it's a tool I've been using to great effect for over 21 years now to improve the quality of my life and most of my relationships, and to turn any negative emotional experience I have, to turn it into part of the infallible guidance system that each and every one of us has been given. You can also download the actual worksheet process itself. It's a simple PDF file. Click the link, download it, print it off, copy it as often as you'd like, and use it over and over again absolutely free. From that same page, you can download a whole host of audio files of shows just like this one where people have been stepped through the worksheet process. And if you choose to listen to them even repeatedly, they can serve as a powerful tutorial for you to help you get maximum benefit from these tools in the shortest amount of time possible. You can also go to your app store and type in the three words HeartLand Aramaic Forgiveness. And if you choose to do that before you're done typing the word forgiveness, you'll see the glowing heart icon. If you tap on that, it will let you download a completely free and private app that contains the Reality Management Worksheet, contains an abbreviated version of the worksheet process, and it contains a copy of the Dragon Klingon game, which is a wonderful way to introduce these tools to even younger audiences. We help people do all of that soon and often, primarily because it tends to improve the quality of people's lives the more they actively apply these tools in their lives. And secondarily, because it tends to prompt comments, questions, answers, and testimonials. If you have any of those to share with us, we'd appreciate you doing so. You can email me at tjh@mindshifters-academy.org, or you can email Jeanie at jeanie@whyagain.org. That's whyaagain.org. And if we get a question or a comment from you through an email, we'll address it on the internet show, and then as time allows, send you a notification about what day and time that occurred so you can listen back to the archives for your feedback or input. If you're able to join us live from 11 to noon Central Time most weekdays, you can go to zoom.us and open up a window and enter the meeting ID 853-2357-4173. 853-2357-4173. And if you're doing that through the phone, your mute keys are *6 to toggle in and out of mute. And we would be happy to hear from you. It makes it far easier for us to live into our intention with this work when people let us know how that's going. So tell us what's on your mind today, how things are, how we can support you. It's a Monday. We have had a weekend. We've had a busy weekend. I was doing some of my usual want over the weekend, and I listened to the Guy Finley talk on Sunday, which was a new talk. And I had the impulse to immediately try and capture parts of it and send it to different people. So it was a good talk, and I'm sure we'll listen to it in one of the upcoming support groups, either Tuesday or Thursday. And it's fascinating how it's the same message over and over and over again, and yet he manages to come up with slightly different ways to say it and different stories to exemplify the dynamics that he's referring to. And it's essentially the same as all of the other, great teachers that we have that we try and draw from and bring into this work, whether it's Course of Miracles or Way of Mastery or the book here, the book of One Love, One Life, One Journey from Guy Finley and Dr. Ellen Dickstein. And with a quick reminder that we welcome comments or questions, even if I seem to be in the middle of a monologue or reading something, and we view those things as additive, adding value. So please feel free to ask a question or raise a hand. I'll return to the reading. We're just at the halfway mark of this book. And the next section in this chapter is titled Fear Ends Here. The revolution that changes everything. And he asks, is it possible for fear to disappear? Let's find out. Let's be clear at the outset. We're not talking about the fear of meeting a bear or driving through a forest fire. These are natural fears based on physical danger. We can't and don't want to get rid of them. No, here what we're talking about is the fear of things that are not objectively dangerous, but that we see as threatening. They can seem terrifyingly real, and yet they are really the product of an overactive imagination. We've experienced this kind of fear our entire lives, and it does feel natural to us. As a child, one might feel fear of new people, fear of strange shadows flitting across the wall at night, fear of making mistakes and being yelled at or ridiculed, even fear of making a telephone call. All children have these fears. However, we believe when we become adults, we will no longer suffer from them. We believe that somehow becoming an adult will fill us with confidence and wisdom that nothing can shake. However, for most of us, we just find ourselves fretting over a new batch of fears. We understand why shadows flit across the wall at night, and we no longer fear them, and yet we now suffer over the shadows of not having enough of what we need, or losing people we love, or getting old and no longer being able to take care of ourselves. And some of the old fears are still there as well, like being afraid of meeting new people. So the reasons to be afraid seem to pile up. But fortunately for us, there have been those wise men and women through the ages whose eyes have been opened and who have not only seen through the shadows of fear, but they've discovered an indwelling source of light in which no fear can dwell. For instance, back in the 8th century, a female Sufi mystic by the name of Rabia of Basra wrote out these illuminating words that are a secret instruction as well for all those who seek an end to fear. Rabia of Basra writes, I was born when all I once feared I could love. I was born when all I once feared I could now love. At first look, that statement might seem odd. How can we have love for what we fear? And how does this lead to our being born? A deeper exploration reveals that the true beauty of what Rabia is saying. First, remember, we're talking about fears that arise from imagination. We perceive things as threats because of past experiences, or things our parents told us, or fears others express in our presence. We are not objectively in danger, but our mind tells us we are, and so we resist and we push away these moments that we don't want. And the more we do, the stronger our resistance grows, and the more our fear grows and limits us. It's the opposite of being born. We're being more and more and more shut down. Now, the opposite of resistance is acceptance. Instead of automatically pushing events or people away because my mind tells me to fear them, self-observation shows me my fear originates within the ideas and expectations that I bring to this moment. So the opposite of resistance is acceptance. Instead of automatically pushing events or people away, simply because my mind tells me to fear them, self-observation shows me my fear originates within the ideas and expectations that I bring to this moment. As I become more aware of my own mistaken ideas and more open to seeing people and events as they are, I become more open to my life. My love of life grows, and as it does, I become grateful for the very things I once feared, and thereby give me an opportunity to become more free. I love what I feared. I've grown more free, and that is a kind of rebirth. The bottom line is self-discovery is the path to ending psychological fear and being born into a new level of consciousness where we know nothing can hurt who we really are, and love becomes the essence of our being. So self-discovery creates the path to ending psychological fear and the path to being born into a new level of consciousness. And in that new level of consciousness, we know, we feel it, we live in the truth that nothing can hurt who we really are. Your spiritual essence, your soul, your awareness, your consciousness has never been in danger. And once you have that awareness and you realize this energy of creation, some call it love, is what gave rise to you and it is your true nature, then you can extend that essence of your being in more and more situations and with everyone you interact. I think if people think about it, I have all these things floating through my head right now. I was listening to something earlier today from Alan Watts, and he was talking about people who are very sensitive, and then they get into a spiritual path and they start to awaken, and now what to do with this? Because you've got all of these sensitivities, you've got all of this awareness, you've got all these things that if you tell somebody, they're going to think you're crazy, or they're going to think that you think you're better than them. It's just this dynamic of, unraveling what is it I really think about myself? What is it that's driving me? The bottom line, he says here, is self-discovery is the pathway to ending psychological fear. When you see, this is like the Krishnamurti teachings that say, when you see all the way to the source of your truth, the power of the truth to disrupt your life falls away. That same wisdom is in the Course in Miracles, where it says, all you need to do is return to the original error in thought, and all of the effects of that negative thought or error in thought, however long ago it happened, they will all disappear as soon as you no longer cherish the thought that gave rise to them. In other words, if you release the mental energy, the mind energy, the attachment that you have, or the identification you have with this particular thought, when you've seen it at its root, and then you withdraw your attention from it, all of the negative effects that have come from that negative thought in your life fall away. You might say healing happens, you might say integration happens, you might say a transmutation of energy happens, but Krishnamurti would talk about how when you witness your own thought and you observe that you're beating yourself up emotionally about something that you can't change, it's already in the past, etc., and you understand that that is simply this mechanical level of mind, as Guy Finley would talk about it, or the process of thought itself, which is flawed, as Krishnamurti would point out, or the 9-bit mind that can only spit back out what's been programmed into it. When you realize that this awareness of this core dynamic of us as human beings arises or shows up in all of these great spiritual teachings, said slightly differently, but the same fundamental point, then you wake up to the idea that everything I can do to learn more about my inner dynamics and what motivates me and what makes me tick and what gets me stuck and what makes me happy and sad and frustrated, that's my path. Because then I'm going to be in a better position to make the decisions that only I can make in my life. And hopefully in a way where I will prefer the results to those I've gotten in the past. So the next section in Guy's book is titled Transcendent Peace, Rise Above Life's Uncertainties. And Guy Finley...
Can I interrupt?
Sure, please do.
Just a quick question. You had mentioned a Roger McFillin podcast with Stephanie Chevrier, and you gave a number, and I went on the internet and couldn't find it and wondered if you have that at hand.
I am fairly certain I can pull that up here for you.
Oops. And I also have another quick, maybe it's not so quick, question.
So, what was the topic of that one?
It was something to do with spirituality, religion, traditional religion. Somebody was commenting, and maybe I've conflated two different talkers.
Well, I've got B.D. Carmichael, who's talking about can faith and prayer really heal you?
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one.
What number is that one?
That one is 205. That was the most recent one.
Okay.
And then Chevrier?
Yeah, Chevrier, and I saw he has interviewed her several times. But I thought that was the one that had to do with traditional religious ways of, that vocabulary being used.
Okay. So the Stephanie Chevrier interview is about, can near-death experiences and past lives research reveal life's deeper purpose?
Yeah, I don't think that was the. Yeah, go ahead.
It's number 189. Well, that's the one with Stephanie Chevrier.
Okay.
189.
Yeah, okay, got it.
On the Radically Genuine podcast.
Right. I wanted to find if Roger McFillin gave any talks on ECTs, electroshock.
Yes, 199 is titled The Barbaric Truth About Electroconvulsive Therapy.
Great. Everybody pretty much tells me. Okay, 196, you said?
No, 199.
199, okay. All right.
Anything else?
I don't think so. I had something else, but I can't find it, and that's okay. Carry on.
Well, with your the email thing you sent me,
Yeah.
It would be great if there were like a key code for, decoding the scribbles,
Oh, sorry.
because I'm guessing wildly for lots of them, but
Oh, no. I was afraid of that. These were just meanderings in my book, and my handwriting is not great. So I could certainly.
well, I got the thread of most of them, but
Mhm.
just wanted you to know that there wasn't a more detailed response because some of them I'm sure hold deep truths and wisdoms that I can't decipher.
Keep that thought.
Okay,
All right. Thanks, Tim.
you're welcome. So, transcendent peace, rise above life's uncertainties. Guy writes, when we find ourselves in an unwanted situation, it seems like things will stay that way forever. I just had a woman in my office this morning who is feeling, 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, she was really feeling much better. And 4 weeks ago, much better. Everything's picking up. And then for the past 2 weeks, it's been a downhill slide. And this last week, she's feeling like she's stuck and she'll never get better. And yet, it's like there's this wave of going into the valley and climbing the mountaintop and then going back into the valley. And it's like we go through these periods in our lives. And whenever we're at one of the down periods, we can't see that, there is a path or that the mountain is climbable or that we'll be done with this. We succumb to like the heaviness of heavier gravity when we're closer to the center of the earth kind of thing. When we're down, we seem to feel like we're never going to get up. So he writes, one day we find ourselves alone. We tell ourselves we'll always be lonely. Maybe our plans are thwarted and we feel like we'll never be happy. Even physically, we have a headache or a bout of indigestion. It seems like we'll never feel well again. Our minds are always quick to jump in and paint a bleak picture of our future. And silly us, we take those grim predictions as true. However, as easy as it is to get discouraged when our thoughts tell us, quote, this will never change, close quotes, it has long been understood that no matter how any moment may appear, quote, this too shall pass, close quotes. It's our resistance that holds these moments in place, which means difficult moments pass for us when our work of self-discovery shows us those inner voices don't know anything, and then we stop listening to them. So a difficult moment is not going to pass for me until I realize that those negative voices in my head don't know anything, and I quit listening to them. Which is why difficult moments can hang around for me for years because I keep listening to them. I keep treating them as valid. I keep arguing against them and giving them a life. Guy goes on and writes, with clearer eyes, we're now able to welcome the ever-changing flow of real life. It may not always bring what we want, but it will always bring new opportunities of unexpected and transformational kind. When we stop insisting that our own demands must be met, the doors of the universe are flung wide open. Everything comes and then passes away. It's the law of life. When we come into harmony with that law, those comings and goings are seen as part of the natural flow, and we are created to deal with them, both the pain and the joy of them. Here is some wisdom, old and new, that gives us a deeper understanding. And then he quotes Buddha, quote, impermanent are all component things. Nothing comes into existence, but there is the seeds of its own dissolution. And then he quotes Marcus Aurelius, quote, all things change, yet we need not fear anything new, close quotes. Then he quotes John Caird, C-A-I-R-D, he quotes him as saying, the conscious self is that which remains constant in its pure universality through all particular changeful experiences, close quotes.
Tim,
Yes.
Question again. This is right relating to the reading. If you back up 2 sentences, everything that comes into existence is going to go out of existence, something like that.
Yes. Impermanent
Uh-huh.
are all component things. Everything that's made of components is impermanent. Nothing comes into existence without the seeds of its own dissolution in hand.
Okay.
Right?
I
Everything that
know,
begins, it's like what the Way of Mastery says, everything that begins in time ends in time.
right. I know Michael talks about meeting at Heartland in 4949, and I do understand that it has something to do with correcting our thought so that those components will not die. That
Well,
are,
yeah, it's the idea that Michael has that to get from where I am to where Michael is, I would have to make a shift to have more value for the material world.
okay. Even so,
Right? It's the
take it.
idea. It's the idea that everything is energy.
Huh?
Well, sort of, right? That's our word for this thing. Everything is energy. But again,
Right.
energy is just a word, and what is that? And so, as people are in these deeper spiritual teachings are trying to tell you that, you know, your consciousness is not energy. It's something other than energy, right? Your essence is something other than energy. The body is the byproduct of, the energies that have been so slow as to be perceptible to the senses.
Right.
But the essence of who you are isn't your physical body and wasn't ever intended to be.
I understand. So,
So Michael seems to be in a position where the body is really important and you should never let go of it and you should remove all the impurities of thought and the body will stay around forever.
is that how he means, or is there something else? At one point, I thought I got it. That if my thinking were as he's recommending it is, that we wouldn't, there would be no corruption. The body would just
Youth,
not.
it would
Yeah.
go backwards in its aging
Oh, yeah,
process. He
that's
calls
right.
it youthing.
Yeah, he does. That's
Yeah.
true.
So to me, that's more of a focus on the physical that I'm interested in.
Yeah.
And energy, that who I am will be just fine even after the body falls away. No harm, no foul kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's from the position, that's the best I can put together. Now, on the other hand, as Michael says, even if it's not absolutely true that he can rejuvenate his body and rebuild it and stay, in the physical realm as permanently as he wants to, forever, whatever, even if that's not true, if you do everything he talks about, whatever time you do have left in the body, you're going to have more joy, more gratitude,
Well,
more
that I can
compassion.
understand. That's different. Yeah.
And
I mean, yeah.
and I say, okay, and I
Hmm.
can do all of that without any focus on the body sticking around for the
Right.
party in 4949.
Well, this is getting silly, but if you keep youthing, you'd go backwards. You'd get so small, you'd go into your mother's womb and she would get youth. And
Well, okay, so there may be some problems with the logic, the linear logic. Okay, maybe some, but
okay,
still
maybe.
plan to be there in 4949.
Well, I mean, I've been very open with him about the fact that even if it were a real option, I wouldn't want that option because all my people, I feel so connected to my people, and I don't think I can get them to do that. And so, what would I do? I'd go meet in my, I picture myself this desiccated skeletal body sitting in a conduit of some kind, being cared for by someone else. I know that's not what he means.
Right. He means a body that's gone through that youthing process.
Right.
He's seen himself in his prime, wherever he visualizes that.
Yeah.
20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever that he's visualizing himself in, full of vim and vigor and
Right.
ready to take on eternity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks.
And we've talked about it before that's very different than your image.
Yeah.
Right? What Michael is imagining is not what you're imagining.
Right. But getting partway there, he's suggesting a kind of living and thinking that I think we all would love to have, whether the body stays with us or not. And that's what you were saying, that you're not thinking about the body, but certainly you want to apply the tools, and that'll be
Well,
a
I
byproduct.
use the tools and they make my life better.
Yeah.
And as so often happens when these things have come up over the years and people want to have a theoretical discussion about this or that, I say, let me know if you can how, if I had the perfect answer to this question, that it would make a significant practical change in your life tomorrow or the next day or whatever. And if you can, then I'll be happy to work with you on this question to see what we might come up with together.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's not going to result in if it's just you're just curious or you feel like you should know the answer or something, and I'm not interested in that because my my investment in this work is about the practical application of the tools and how it dramatically improves the quality of people's lives when they do that.
Right.
And so I don't really care how it works. As a matter of fact, I had quite the chuckle listening over the weekend. I might have even put this in an email to you, but I had quite the chuckle listening to Michael Ryce talk about his most recent um, revelations, and this is how the mind energy does this, and this is how it gets lodged in the system, and this is where it's located. It's in the corpus callosum. He's talking about all these different things. And I just burst out laughing because it's such a structure of thought and energy systems, and it's so intellectually focused. And it clashed in my mind with all the times I've heard Michael say that the number one pseudo solution of the non-being mind is,
Right.
I'm just going to figure it out. And there's so much, it just struck me as
It
worth a
is
good
funny if you
chuckle.
look at it that way. On the other hand, he's trying to. I have a good friend, and I've mentioned this before. He says Michael was trying to F the ineffable. And that does sound like an intellectual exercise, but he's trying to put words to something that he probably can't put words to, or maybe that's not right, but that's what I'm assuming he's trying to do. When he's had a download, as he calls them, and then
Yeah, he's
wants,
called to share it. Yeah.
yeah, right.
And, for some people, it's going to resonate deeply and they're going to have a wonderful time with it. And for others, it's not their cup of tea. And for those people, I just say, just keep looking because
Don't
eventually
worry about it. Right.
there are so many people out here who are, going where they can in their own path and making their lives better and then sharing it. And eventually the odds are really good. If you keep looking, you'll find somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Susan, you're one of the people who's asked me about Christian Sundberg, and I
Yeah.
did get an update over the weekend. Rather than paraphrase, I'll try and pull it up here. He writes, Dr. Tim, thank you so much. I appreciate the support. My health is now far better, exclamation point. I'm interested in rescheduling. Can we pick a date in January or later? Thanks again for your heartfelt support. So I sent him back a note that said, if he picks the day, we have the time because this is the 11 o'clock time slot. He's going to join us for the this on Mind Shifters Radio rather than On Your
Right.
Mind podcast. And so I will give you updates when he decides when he'd like to be interviewed. But that's
Good.
good news that he's feeling better.
Yeah. Thanks. That's fun. Looking forward to that.
And then go find a tool that works for you and just keep using the tool. Instead of spending so much time talking about or thinking about what is it, how is it working, what do I need to do to make it work, why isn't it working yet, find a tool you like and just keep using the tool. I had somebody in my office earlier today, and even though she doesn't like to do it, she gets good results with the neuroemotional technique.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if I'm in a session with her and I say, well, do you want to do NET on it? She'll say, no, I don't want to do it.
Right.
Will I do it? If you ask me, if you think it's a good idea, yeah, I probably will. But
Yeah.
so
What is that?
that's that neuroemotional technique where it's basically a faster version of a reality management worksheet. It just helps you bypass all the conscious logical stuff and tap into the energy. And you use muscle testing to, check the flow of the energy and where it
Mm-hmm.
might be disrupted, and you pick the emotion and the thought. It's very much like a worksheet process. You figure out the thought and figure out the emotion, figure out the dynamic that your mind is trying to tell you is driving all of that, and then you just put it aside. And this just adds a part of muscle testing and the acupuncture meridians to assist you in bypassing the conscious logical mind.
Mm.
But she'll do it even though she doesn't like it. Why would you do it if you don't like it? Because she likes the results. And if you just, all right, if you give yourself long enough with whatever tool, like some people, remember you asked about Colin Tipping and
Yeah.
the radical forgiveness?
Mm-hmm.
Well, some people really liked the radical forgiveness writings, and it was Michael Ryce's work from a slightly different perspective. And
Mm-hmm.
if you heard Michael talk about this, his understanding is that Colin Tipping learned the surface level of Michael's work and then decided it was so good he was going to go out and monetize it for himself, and he created his own system with worksheets. And Michael says, and he forgot the goal canceling part. He forgot the shebang. He forgot the core of the whole thing. So, but people loved it. I mean, I was on the speaking circuit at that time. I'd be out giving talks, and people say, oh, you're talking about Michael Ryce forgiveness. You've really got to tap into Colin Tipping. And I said, well,
Yeah.
I like Colin's work so much better. Okay, well, then use Colin's work, right? But it's basically the same core material with a different personality presenting it, a different
Yeah.
set of, vibrational energy on the words, etc. So
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember if I ever looked that up for myself. I know that I did have the files anyway, the electronic files for Colin Tipping's what did he call it? Radical forgiveness.
I have an article here. Let me go get it. What we called it. Genesis, yeah, radical forgiveness.
Yeah. So he ended up writing a book on radical forgiveness. And radicalforgiveness.org is their homepage.
My understanding of his was that we forgive because we realize that whatever someone did or said or an event that happened is useful for us toward our own healing. Therefore, we can turn anger and resentment into thanking them for the opportunity to get these benefits. That was my understanding. But it's true, the business of the goal wasn't there, and it doesn't seem to need to be there because the purpose of everybody is to be a learning tool for me. This is my understanding, and I haven't spent much time on it at all.
Yeah, like I think it fits pretty well to say it's what Colin learned from Michael that Colin took away and put his own spin on and packaged and wrote a book about it and sold it as worksheets and a book. And now they've got, the Radical Forgiveness Institute. And these are tools based on the tipping method, basically the Radical Forgiveness Worksheet and the Radical Acceptance of another worksheet. The Radical Self-Forgiveness, Self-Acceptance Worksheet, a Transformation Worksheet, a Manifestation Worksheet, a Self-Acceptance Worksheet, the Money Consciousness Worksheet, etc. Well, guess what? The student learned well from the teacher. What do you find? What do you find if you go to Michael Ryce's website? This core tool, and then this worksheet, and then this worksheet, and this worksheet. So he learned well.
Yeah, he spread the word.
So Michael would not find any humor in any of that because it was at a very different time in his life, and because Michael would say that it's missing this fundamental piece that gives the Reality Management Worksheet its power.
Right. And if it were my work, I would have had my nose seriously out of joint because I didn't get credit, which of course is not, it's obvious that worksheets are needed on no matter whose kind.
Well, we've been at this a number of times, even recently. In this culture, we are so thoroughly programmed to put people on pedestals. And then we're programmed to get upset if somebody won't let us put them on a pedestal.
That isn't what I'm talking about here, though.
I'm just talking in general, right? I'm talking about that the energy in the culture is so strong that it's there. And if we're not consciously aware of it, what do we know about in this work? Well, the energies that are the strongest energies resonant in my mind body energy system at any given moment that I am not aware of, those are the ones that are going to drive my behavior, whether I like it or not. The fact that it sits in my blind spot allows it to have a powerful impact on me that I can't control.
Right. That shut us all up.
Well, it's just my mind went in too many different directions to track them all down. I don't want to be on the side. The message, the hopeful message that I want to bring up, if we talk about Colin tipping and this thing that some people want to judge that as bad or wrong, well, it happened, and I'm not going to judge it as bad or wrong. I'm going to say, here's what happened. If that work with his flavor of spin on it really, really speaks to you, by all means, use that tool. Follow that work. Go to whatever will help you because, at the bottom line in all of this, there's just this one mind, there's this one process, there's this one goal, which is to wake up to your true nature. So Guy Finley was just talking about it as that self-discovery is the path. The bottom line is that self-discovery is the pathway to ending psychological fear and being born into a new level of consciousness. Well, what's every reality management worksheet about? It's uncovering more of what my unconscious dynamic is. What's going to happen if I do a Diedrich Wolzak worksheet? I'm going to learn more about things I downloaded of a negative nature when I was younger in my life that are getting resonated into activity when I have a negative emotion as an adult. It's the same process. However we're getting there, whatever we're doing, we're all doing the same thing. When it works, how did I say that? I said, anything that truly works is just like everything else that truly works. Just, we are,
Well, I just went to a much more petty level of maybe Michael didn't get recognized for being the mentor of this other man, or maybe he wasn't acknowledged as the author of this wonderful set of ideas, which this man took and ran with it and did exactly what Michael wants, which is to spread it around to the last person on the planet. But my ego is sitting there thinking, humph, he should have mentioned that it was my work first.
well, and of course, there's a perspective from which Michael is saying, he's not using my work. He's ruined my work, right? He didn't understand it, and so he's missing the mark.
That actually.
And it was
Susan.
Cammie?
Yeah,
go ahead.
Hi, Cammie.
He did when he first started. When I first found him years and years ago, he had he used Michael's worksheet and left his name on it and gave Michael credit, just like Michael has asked. Feel free to share it, but give me credit. So he did at one point, but with what you guys are talking about, the way that he changed it and the leaving out the goal thing, and what you're saying, Tim, about he's saying that it's not his work, then I would think that it would be that that's a good thing, that he's not attaching his name to it if he feels like, I don't remember if you used the word, but what comes to my mind is bastardized it.
Well,
if that's the take on it.
Let's just save this for if and when Michael wants to discuss it, right? Now, here's what I heard Michael say years ago about this and this and this. I'm not going to be able to track it that diligently. I do specifically remember Michael saying that Colin did not have the goal canceling in the worksheet, and that was the key of, his understanding about the uniqueness. No one has had this except Yeshua and the Course in Miracles kind of thing, and the Khabouris manuscript. So beyond that, let's let Michael make his comments if he wishes to talk about what happened with Colin. Colin's no longer in the body, but the Institute is still there.
I was actually talking about, so for me, I was bothered, like I thought Susan had expressed, that I was bothered that he did that when he took Michael's name off of it. But with you saying that kind of took away that little irritation that I had about it. I wasn't trying to make a big long discussion about he said, she said. That was just what I witnessed, and I had always had an irritation, and that I came to a conclusion with that if he changed it, then he should have taken Michael's name off of it.
Yeah, if he's not gonna leave it the same, yeah, if he's gonna say, hey, this is what Michael Ryce did, and it's not what Michael Ryce did.
Yeah, well, yeah, I wouldn't want somebody to totally change my work and still have my name on it. So they took bits and pieces of it, and they started spreading this message in another way. That's the purpose, right, to every mind on the planet. And I would be appreciative, I think, if somebody took my name off of it at that point. I know that, like I said, it just gave me peace about it, because every time I heard the guy's name for how many years now, it would irritate me.
You had to do a wake-up sheet on it, yeah.
Right? And so I'm like, okay, all clear now. Thank you very much.
Well, there's the middle ground here, too. You could just say, my mentor was such and so, and this is what I got from him, and now I've taken it in this direction, and I appreciate him so much. But and not put his name on it anymore. I didn't realize that he had given Michael credit early on. I had no idea, so that's good to know.
I think the order of what happened was he that he published it without Michael's acknowledgement, and Michael reached out to him. But as I said, you'd have to get.
I vaguely remember that now that you say it, Tim. I remember on the radio show a couple of years ago, he did say something about that. Yeah.
Well, at one point he did have Michael's worksheet with, just like it is on the bottom where it has his stuff. I was surprised when I came across it, so whatever.
Yeah, it's it's a cautionary tale in some cases, right? I mean, like you can use it any way you want. If you want to learn a lesson about respect and values and honesty, or you want to just say, hey, look, what works, no matter who's teaching it. Find somebody who teaches it in a way that you like and enjoy and do the work to, make your life better in whatever that would take.
Absolutely.
And like I said, over the years, I'd be out in the speaker circuit and talk about, forgiveness, and there'd be people, oh, you got to try this. This is the greatest thing ever, and it's Colin Tipping. And I looked it up. I try to be open-minded. I try to, when people say, hey, your work is just like this, or this is better than what you're doing, I usually go look it up and give it a try if it seems to fit my style and tastes. And
yeah,
and that's what I encourage everybody else to do too.
I have given his name to people that thought that Michael's was too complicated because he's got, boxes that you check for your emotions and stuff. He's got it all laid out there. And if somebody isn't in touch with their emotions and doesn't know how to even name them, I thought it was a pretty cool thing to have some out there that they could choose from that fit the best. I don't know. But anyway, I'm going to...
yeah, and to be, really fair at this stage of the game, we should say that Michael and Jeanie have spent a tremendous amount of time and money on this website, and there are more different types of worksheets there than you'll ever use.
Yeah.
Right. So, if you want some options, you don't have to go to a different source. And some of those came from people
like Tim Hayes. Yours is in there. Your pattern is in there.
Yeah, and Julie Haverstick and Michelle Pache and Susan Darnell and other people over the years who've come through here. David Hayes have had impact on this. I mean, there's all these different people who've had, at one level or another, input into modifications of either the main 7-step worksheet process or one of the many others that you'll find on, if you go to whyagain.org and click on the 2 words that say start here in the upper left-hand corner.
Well, sometimes just having somebody else's input can clarify things in such a way that, I maybe would beat my head against the wall for, say, 20 years or something, and then new input comes in, and all of a sudden I'm like, aha, yay.
Yeah,
finally.
And it's that new input that Michael is referring to every time he says, come on, ask questions. That's how we move this work forward, is every question's valid. That's that.
Yeah, that new detailed power person worksheet has just brought so much awareness to me of things that I never dreamt about myself. And it was, no, it's a work process. It's a process. Matt keeps saying that I thought it was a workbook because that night that you said that it's a process. It's not a worksheet. It's a process. But anyway.
That's just, that's just what my brain's making more sense of it. One sheet, worksheet. 19 pages, process.
Right. No, I got it. But that process sheet is, oh gosh, it's just amazing. For my brain. For my brain, it's doing wonders. But for somebody else's, maybe not.
Yeah, and it's okay. There are people absolutely love the Enneagram. And they want me to learn more about it, and they get all excited, and I've tried several times, and there's just something about the way it's laid out and the details and what needs to be remembered. I did far better with the Myers-Briggs, which is a typology that's far more simple. And so it may not be as rigorous, it may not be as spot on for some people, but it's what, we talk about. There's the topic and the content, but then there's also what's the state of mind of the person, right? So I've mentioned over the years that one of the books that's had the biggest impact on my life, other than The Way of Mastery, is the Mirror Theory book. And yet I absolutely understand that just is a book that just came into my life at just the right time for me. In that particular situation, post-divorce, down and out in mood, struggling mightily on all of these different levels. It was just the perfect piece of material at the perfect time. And if I were to come across that book today, I may skim it, I may toss it in the corner, but at that point in time, I read it, and then I reread it, and then I got the little Post-it note stickums for the margins, and I underlined in different colors, and I had never worked a book over that much, even through my doctoral training. And there's nothing, there's nothing in it that's as deep and powerful to my way of thinking as the Course in Miracles or The Way of Mastery, but it just hit at just the right time.
Yeah.
It arrived in just the right time.
I think that was Marianne
Williamson,
yeah. Couldn't think.
For you, mean, Cammie?
Yeah, I think that book was that way for me. It just really just drove it home.
What book?
Return to Love.
Okay.
I keep wanting to go back and read it, but then I'm like, well, it might not be so good this time because the first time I read it was 20 years ago,
Right. I've had that experience too, yeah. And the Enneagram, Tim, it's funny, I've had the same experience. I just couldn't get into it.
I had the same experience with that too.
And people that really, they make a lot of sense when they talk, and they see similarities to my work, and they like me, and they keep wanting me to get involved, and some of them get quite frustrated to an agitated level, right? But I'll be all right, even if I can't wrap my head around the Enneagram in this lifetime.
Or today.
Yeah. Not today, anyway. Well, that's close enough to the end. Thank you so much, both of you, for your comments and questions. And I'll remind us all that we come from love. We're made of the stuff we call love. We actually are love, and everything else is false.